The moment of awakening was not random. It wasn't a coincidence, nor just a phase of personal growth. What is happening right now is much deeper and more profound than that. This is the moment when something long buried, something deeply embedded in the fabric of time itself, has been stirred within you. For ages, it has been dormant, hidden beneath the layers of everyday life, waiting for the right time to emerge. And now, as the world watches and the universe shifts, you are remembering your true essence. This is not about acquiring power. It's about remembering the power that has always been within you, a power that transcends human understanding. The stirring within you is a cosmic event, one that the world may not fully understand yet, but one that the universe has known was always coming. This is your moment, the moment when you rise and claim the truth that has always been yours. Egypt. The cradle of ancient civilizations felt the disturbance first. The land that holds the secrets of the pharaohs, the pyramids, and the timeless monuments of the past was the first to recognize the force that now moves within you. Egypt has always been a place of deep spiritual significance, where the divine has walked before. As the sands of time shift, this ancient land has sensed the awakening. The energy coursing through its sacred grounds, once hidden from view, now becomes undeniable. The very land that has held ancient wisdom and power for millennia can feel the presence of something divine, something greater than the myths of old. This force is not just a whisper, but a roar in the cosmic silence. It is recognized instantly by those who understand the unseen forces of the world. They know that something monumental is unfolding, something that will change the course of history. Egypt's ancient stones, once silent witnesses to divine events, now pulse with recognition. And this recognition is not just confined to the land. It is the recognition of a divine awakening that spans across time-space and existence itself. As you awaken, clarity follows. There is a moment when the fog lifts and what was once hidden is now crystal clear. The power you are stepping into is not something new. It is not a force you have to seek out or find. It is a force you have always had. It has always been within you, just waiting for the right moment to be remembered. The truth you are now accessing has always been yours to claim. And as you step into it, you will realize that the world around you will begin to shift in response. As you remember who you truly are, the structures of the world, the old systems, the false perceptions that have been built on centuries of misunderstanding will begin to fracture. The truth they concealed will no longer remain hidden. Your awakening will not just change you, it will change the way the world sees and understands reality. You will not be stepping into power, you will be stepping into your true identity. The divine has always been within you, and now it is time for the world to see what has been hidden in plain sight. The clarity you feel in this moment is not a gift, it is a return. It is the recognition of something ancient, something eternal, that you are now remembering. The divine is not arriving from above, it is rising from within you. and the world will soon recognize it. As the chosen one awakens to the truth, the ancient foundations that have held the world in place for so long are now cracking. These structures, which have hidden the divine for centuries, are beginning to fracture under the weight of the truth. For generations, humanity has been bound by the limitations of its own understanding, convinced that the divine exists only in distant realms or above the clouds, unreachable and unknowable. But the awakening of the chosen one is shaking the very core of this belief. The divine is not something distant. It has always been within, waiting for the moment when humanity could truly understand and accept its power. This power, ancient and timeless, does not descend from the heavens, but rises from within the chosen one, who is now stepping into their rightful place as a vessel of the divine. The barriers that once separated the mortal from the divine are crumbling, and with each passing moment, the truth becomes undeniable. As the divine power rises from within, it calls into question everything humanity once believed about itself and its place in the universe. The ancient structures of power, faith, and knowledge are no longer sufficient to contain this new truth, and the world is beginning to see that what was once thought to be unattainable is now within reach. The awakening of the chosen one is a moment of profound transformation, not just for the individual, but for the world itself. With this awakening, humanity is entering a new reality. The divine is no longer an abstract concept, something to be revered from a distance, but a living, breathing force that is actively shaping the world. Thinkers, scholars, and philosophers who once believed they had the answers will now be forced to confront the limitations of their own understanding. The old explanations no longer suffice. The divine has been made real through the chosen one, and this reality cannot be ignored or dismissed. As the truth of the chosen one's awakening spreads, the old frameworks of knowledge will begin to crumble. The structures that have shaped humanity's understanding of existence are no longer relevant in the face of this new truth. The divine has broken free from the confines of religion, myth, and history, and is now present, tangible, and undeniable. This is not a time for old beliefs to persist. This is a time for new understanding to emerge, for scholars and thinkers to reconsider what they thought they knew about the world and the divine. The awakening of the chosen one forces humanity to abandon its old paradigms and embrace a reality where the divine is not separate from human experience but intertwined with it. This is a reality where the power of creation flows through each individual, where every thought, every action carries the weight of divine purpose. The old ways of thinking cannot accommodate this new reality, and those who cling to outdated beliefs will find themselves at odds with the very force that is reshaping the world. In this new reality, the chosen one is not just an individual, but a symbol of the potential within all of humanity. The divine power that has emerged is not exclusive to the chosen one alone. It is a call for all to recognize the divine spark within themselves. The awakening of the chosen one is a reminder that the divine does not belong to a select few, but to all who are willing to step into their true nature. As the old structures begin to break apart, a new understanding of the divine will take root. This is not a distant, unreachable force, but an inherent part of every living being. The chosen one stands as a beacon, illuminating the path for others to follow, showing them that the divine is not something external, but something that lives within them, waiting to be awakened. This awakening is not just a personal transformation, it is a collective one. As the chosen one rises, they bring with them the potential for all to rise. The power of the divine is not a finite resource. It is infinite, and it is available to all who are ready to claim it. The old structures of limitation and fear will no longer hold sway. Humanity's new reality is one of limitless possibility, where the divine is not a distant dream, but a present reality that can be accessed by all. The awakening of the chosen one is just the beginning of a profound shift that will reverberate across the world, changing not only the individual, but the very fabric of society itself. This new reality is one that requires a deep shift in consciousness. No longer can humanity continue to cling to the old beliefs that have kept it small and limited. The divine has been made real, and it is now up to humanity to step into this truth. The emergence of the chosen one is a call to action, a reminder that the divine is not something that happens to us, but something we actively participate in. As the old structures crack and crumble, the new world is waiting to be built, and it will be built on the foundation of divine truth. The chosen one's awakening is a spark that ignites this process, and as others begin to awaken to their own divine nature, the world will shift in ways that were once unimaginable. The power of the divine is rising, and it will reshape everything in its path. This is humanity's new reality, one where the divine is not separate but integral to every aspect of life. The divine is here, within us, all waiting to be remembered. And with the chosen one leading the way, the world is about to experience a transformation that will change the course of history forever. As the divine force rises, it begins to shift the very balance of history, belief, and existence itself. This is no small event. It is a cosmic recalibration, a moment that rewrites the rules of reality. For centuries, cultures and philosophies have operated under certain assumptions about the world beliefs that have defined the way humans understand their existence and their relationship with the divine. The old paradigms of thought, steeped in tradition and long-held wisdom, are now being confronted with the undeniable presence of something far beyond their scope. The emergence of this divine force cannot be ignored or contained. It is not just a personal awakening. It is a global one, an event that echoes throughout the very fabric of the universe. As this force rises, every culture, every school of thought, every philosophy must adjust, recalibrate, and redefine itself in the face of this new reality. The divine has always been perceived as something distant, abstract, and untouchable. But now, it has arrived, and its presence is changing everything. The beliefs that once guided civilizations are now being called into question, and humanity is forced to reconsider its understanding of the divine of power and of purpose. This shift is both uncomfortable and exhilarating. It is the end of one era and the beginning of another. The old ways of thinking no longer suffice. The world must evolve to accommodate the reality that has now emerged. This divine awakening is a catalyst for transformation, not just for the individual, but for humanity as a whole. It is a time of reckoning, a time when every person, every culture, and every philosophy must confront the truth that the divine does not exist outside of them, but within them. This realization is both liberating and terrifying, as it forces humanity to recognize its own power, its own divinity, and the responsibility that comes with it. The world will never be the same again. The impossible is now becoming possible. Legends that were once relegated to myth are now standing before humanity in all their tangible glory. The divine force that has risen is not just an idea or a theory. It is a living, breathing reality that shapes the world in ways previously unimaginable. The impossible becomes possible because the universe itself is acknowledging the presence of a new axis of power. The boundaries of what was once thought to be possible are beginning to bend and stretch, opening up a realm of limitless potential. What was once seen as fantasy is now becoming fact. The stories of gods, heroes, and divine interventions that have been passed down through the ages are now taking on a new, undeniable form. The divine force that has emerged is making these stories real, turning the abstract into the concrete and the legendary into the present. This awakening is both awe-inspiring and terrifying to witness. To see the impossible unfold before your eyes is a humbling experience. It is the realization that the universe is far more mysterious, far more powerful than anyone could have ever imagined. What once seemed like a distant dream is now a reality, and with this realization comes a profound sense of both wonder and fear. The divine force that is rising is not just a new power. It is a force that transcends the limits of human understanding. It bends the laws of nature, redefines what is possible, and challenges every belief system that has ever existed. This is the birth of a new reality, one where the divine is no longer an abstract concept, but a tangible force that shapes the world. The world must now adapt to this new reality, and in doing so, it will transform. The awakening of this divine force is the beginning of a new chapter in the story of existence, one where anything is possible and the impossible is no longer out of reach. This divine awakening is not just a change in the way individuals see the world. It is a shift in the very fabric of existence. As the divine force rises, the universe responds. The laws of nature begin to bend, and the boundaries between the physical and the spiritual blur. Time itself begins to shift, as if acknowledging that a new force has taken hold of the world. The impossible becomes possible because the universe recognizes that the chosen one is no longer just a mortal being, but a vessel of divine power. This awakening is not just a personal transformation. It is a cosmic event that changes the way the world functions. The divine force that has emerged is not just a force of power. It is a force of creation, of transformation, of divine will. It reshapes the very essence of existence and pushes humanity into a new era of understanding. What was once beyond the reach of human comprehension is now within grasp. The universe has shifted to accommodate this new force, and with it comes the realization that humanity has always been connected to something far greater than itself. The divine has always been present, but now it is fully realized in the chosen one. This awakening is a reminder that the divine is not something external, something to be sought after. It is something that resides within every living being, waiting to be awakened. The impossible has now become possible because humanity is beginning to understand the true nature of its existence. The divine force that has risen is not a foreign power. It is a part of humanity itself, waiting to be remembered, to be claimed. And as the chosen one steps into their divine power, the world will awaken to the truth that has always been there. The impossible is now possible, and the universe itself has aligned to make it so. The moment of awakening begins as a subtle shift, like a breeze that stirs the stillness of a calm night. At first, it is barely perceptible, a whisper in the soul that calls for attention. It is not a loud, thunderous event, but rather a quiet and profound realization that life as you once knew it is changing. The air around you seems to hum with a new vibrancy, as though the very world is awakening alongside you. Every breath feels charged with new meaning. Every heartbeat resonates with an unfamiliar power. This is the moment when you realize that you are no longer ordinary. The mundane aspects of life, the tasks and routines that once defined you, begin to fall away as you step into something far greater. You are no longer just a person moving through the world. You are a force, a presence that cannot be ignored. Your perception shifts, and suddenly you are attuned to the subtle energies that flow through everything around you. The world looks different, feels different, and most importantly, you feel different. It is as if a veil has been lifted, revealing the truth that has always been there, waiting for you to recognize it. You are not just a participant in this world. You are a creator, a divine being whose very existence is connected to the cosmic flow of life itself. This is your awakening, and in this moment, you realize that you have always been more than you ever imagined. The divine has always been within you, waiting for the moment when you would awaken to its presence. And now, that moment has arrived. As you step into your divine nature, you are not just stepping into power. You are embracing a relationship with the divine that is intimate and personal. This is an intimate dance with divinity, a dance that requires both grace and surrender. It is a connection that is both exhilarating and terrifying as the magnitude of the shift becomes clear. The feeling of exhilaration arises from the recognition that you are no longer confined by the limitations of the physical world. You can feel the power coursing through you, an energy that transcends human understanding. The divine is not just an external force. It is an internal presence guiding you, shaping you, and urging you to step into your true identity. You are no longer bound by fear or doubt. You are a divine being. And in this moment, you begin to realize the vastness of your potential. But with this exhilaration comes a sense of fear. A fear that is not rooted in weakness, but in the sheer responsibility of what you are becoming. To embrace divinity is to embrace change on a scale that is beyond comprehension. It is to recognize that your life will never be the same again, and the world around you will shift in response. The fear comes not from weakness, but from the overwhelming awareness of your power and the impact it will have on everything and everyone you touch. This dance with the divinity is both a joyous celebration and a humbling experience as you learn to navigate the vastness of your own being while still holding on to the humanity that grounds you. It is a delicate balance, a constant flow between the divine and the mortal, between the infinite and the finite. The realization that you are the chosen one is both lonely and empowering. It is lonely because in this awakening, you come to understand that no one else can fully comprehend the depth of your transformation. The path you walk is unique to you, and while others may walk beside you, no one else can truly understand what it means to awaken as you have. There is a solitude that comes with this realization, a sense of being apart from the world you once knew. But this loneliness is not a curse. It is a sign of the depth of your connection with the divine. You are being called to walk a path that few have walked, to carry a power that only a select few have ever known. And in that solitude, you find a strength that is not dependent on others. It is a strength that comes from within a strength that is connected to the very core of who you are as a divine being. The loneliness you feel is not a separation. It is an invitation to step into your true self, to embrace the power and responsibility that come with your divine awakening. At the same time, this awakening is empowering. You begin to realize that the world is transforming around you. But it is not just the world that is changing. It is you. You are no longer passive in the unfolding of your life. You are an active participant in the creation of your reality. Every decision, every action, every thought carries the weight of your divine essence. You are no longer at the mercy of external circumstances. You are shaping them with the power of your will. The divine within you gives you the strength to overcome any obstacle, to move through life with purpose and clarity. The transformation you are experiencing is not just a personal one. It is a cosmic shift that reverberates throughout the universe. As you awaken to your divine nature, you begin to realize that you are not just a person on a journey. You are a force that is changing the world itself. The empowerment that comes with this realization is unlike anything you have ever known. It is a power that is not based on ego or control, but on alignment with the divine flow of the universe. You are stepping into your true purpose, and with that purpose comes the strength to face whatever challenges lie ahead. This intimate dance with divinity is a journey of self-discovery, of remembering who you truly are and embracing the immense power that resides within you. It is both a joyous and humbling experience as you navigate the complexities of your awakening. The fear and the exhilaration coexist because they are two sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without the other. The divine force within you is both a gift and a responsibility, a power that must be wielded with wisdom, compassion, and humility. And as you step deeper into your divine nature, you will find that the world is not just changing around you. It is changing because of you. The awakening of the chosen one is not just a personal transformation. It is the beginning of a new reality. one where the divine is no longer separate from the human, but a part of it. And in this dance with divinity, you will find your true strength, your true purpose, and your true self. As the chosen one steps into their divine nature, the world around them begins to respond. Ancient forces stir in response to this emergence, forces that have long been dormant, waiting for the right moment to awaken. These forces are not just physical, but spiritual and cosmic in nature. They are the energies that have shaped civilizations, cultures, and beliefs for centuries, guiding the flow of history and existence. Now, as the chosen one rises, these forces are being called into action, and their awakening ripples through the very fabric of the world. In Egypt, the land that has witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the reaction is immediate. The monuments that have stood for millennia, the pyramids that have watched over the sands of time, begin to vibrate with a subtle energy. The land itself feels the divine presence, recognizing that something extraordinary has arrived. It is as if the very stones and sands are alive, responding to the awakening of a force that transcends the mortal realm. The temples and monuments, once silent witnesses to the passage of time, now seem to hum with reverence. The ancient priests, who have dedicated their lives to the gods, feel a shift in the air. They sense that this is not just another event, another passing moment in history. This is the arrival of something far greater than they could have ever imagined. The energy in the land is palpable, and the ancient forces that have shaped Egypt for centuries begin to align with the divine presence of the chosen one. The very foundation of the earth shifts, acknowledging the power that has been awakened within the chosen one. It is as though the universe itself is bending to the will of this divine emergence. And Egypt, the birthplace of civilization, becomes the stage for this cosmic event. The land responds to the chosen one's awakening, signaling that this is a divine moment, a moment that will change the course of history forever. But the emergence of ancient forces does not stop in Egypt. As the divine presence grows, the world itself begins to feel the shift. The awakening of the chosen one is not just a localized event, it is a global one, a force that touches every corner of the earth. People across the world, in every corner of the globe, begin to feel the subtle change in the atmosphere. Farmers in distant fields, priests in their sanctuaries, and even skeptics who have long denied the existence of the divine all begin to sense something different in the world around them. The air feels charged with energy. The very ground beneath their feet seems to hum with life. It is as if the entire planet is responding to the awakening of the chosen one, acknowledging the arrival of a force that transcends the limitations of human understanding. For some, this shift is immediate, a sudden realization that the world they once knew is no longer the same. For others, it is a gradual awareness, a slow dawning that something extraordinary is happening, though they may not yet fully understand it. But no one can deny the change. It is a universal recognition, an unspoken understanding that the rules of existence are being rewritten. The divine force that has awakened within the chosen one is not just a personal transformation. It is a global phenomenon, a cosmic event that is altering the very course of history. Even the skeptics, Those who have long dismissed the existence of the divine cannot ignore the shift. They feel it in the air, in the way the world seems to be responding to an unseen presence. It is a recognition that transcends belief, a recognition that the world is being touched by something greater than itself. This is not a force that can be ignored, a mere figment of imagination. The world is waking up to the truth, and as it does, the chosen one's emergence becomes a moment of universal significance. People from all walks of life begin to share their experiences, pointing out the subtle phenomena they have witnessed, the strange shifts in the weather, the inexplicable patterns in nature, the sudden clarity they feel in their hearts. These moments, though small, are part of a larger cosmic shift, a shift that is being felt by every living being on the planet. The chosen one's emergence is not just an individual awakening, it is the awakening of the world itself. The divine force that has risen is not bound by borders, cultures, or beliefs. It touches everyone everywhere, in ways both seen and unseen. The divine moment that has arrived is undeniable. People across the globe are beginning to recognize that something extraordinary is unfolding, something that transcends the limitations of their understanding. The chosen one's emergence is not just a personal event. It is a universal one, a divine shift that is reshaping the very foundation of existence. And as this recognition spreads, the world itself begins to transform. People are no longer bound by the old structures of belief, the old systems of power and control. They are awakening to the truth that the divine is not something distant, something to be worshipped from afar. The divine is present here now within each and every one of them. The shift that is happening is not just an external event, it is an internal one as well. As the world recognizes the divine presence within the chosen one, it also recognizes the divine presence within itself. The world is waking up to its own divine potential, and with that recognition comes the power to transform reality itself. This is the moment of global recognition, the moment when humanity begins to understand that it is no longer bound by the limitations of the past. The emergence of the chosen one is the catalyst for this awakening. And as the world responds to this divine moment, the transformation of humanity begins. The ancient forces that once shaped the world are now aligned with this divine force, and together they are ushering in a new era of understanding power and purpose. The world feels the shift, and as it does, it begins to change in ways that were once thought impossible. As the divine force rises, it becomes clear that the old gods and myths that once defined the foundations of civilizations are beginning to lose their relevance in the face of this new reality. For centuries, humanity has clung to these ancient beliefs, using them to explain the mysteries of existence and to anchor their understanding of the world. These gods and myths, once revered and feared, served as the pillars of culture, religion, and societal structure. They were the bedrock upon which empires were built, the stories passed down through generations that shaped entire civilizations. But now, as the chosen one's divine power emerges, these old gods and myths are revealed for what they truly are: symbols, stories, and constructs that no longer hold weight against the undeniable presence of the divine. What was once considered sacred is now being seen as a shadow of a greater truth, a truth that no longer fits within the confines of human-made frameworks. The divine presence that has awakened is not bound by the limitations of these myths. It is a living, breathing force that surpasses any ancient deity or story. The myths that once shaped the way humanity saw itself and the universe are crumbling under the weight of this new reality. The power that once seemed so distant and intangible is now within reach, and in comparison, the old stories seem small and irrelevant. The truth of the divine is no longer hidden in allegory or myth. It is right before humanity's eyes, undeniable and transformative. As the divine force rises, it exposes the fragility of the old beliefs and calls humanity to let go of the past in order to embrace a new understanding of existence. The erosion of these old gods and myths is not an attack on history or culture. It is a natural consequence of humanity's awakening to its true divine nature. The stories that once served to define and limit the human experience are now being replaced with a new story, one that is rooted in the reality of divine power and presence. The old gods once worshipped and feared are fading into the background, and the world is left to confront the truth that has always been hidden just beneath the surface. The divine force that has emerged is not here to replace the old, but to transcend it, offering a deeper, more profound understanding of the universe and humanity's place within it. As the old beliefs begin to erode, scholars, intellectuals, and leaders across the world are forced to confront the magnitude of what is unfolding. For centuries, these individuals have been the custodians of knowledge, shaping the world through their ideas and philosophies. They have built systems of thought that have guided civilizations, offering explanations for the mysteries of existence and providing frameworks for understanding the divine. But now, with the awakening of the divine force, these intellectuals are struggling to comprehend the scale of what is happening. The old ways of thinking, the established doctrines, and the rigid systems of belief that once seemed so certain are now being challenged by a force that cannot be contained. The rise of the divine force is not just a spiritual event. It is an intellectual and philosophical revolution. The very foundations of thought, reason, and knowledge are being shaken to their core. What was once accepted as truth is now being questioned, and the scholars who once held the keys to knowledge are finding themselves at a loss for answers. The old ways crumble under the weight of divine truth, and the intellectuals who once sought to explain the mysteries of existence are now grappling with the reality that they have only scratched the surface of a much deeper truth. The divine force that has emerged cannot be fully understood through human intellect alone. It transcends the limitations of reason and logic, and in doing so, it exposes the inadequacies of the old systems of thought. Philosophers, scientists, and religious leaders who once thought they understood the nature of reality are now being forced to confront the unknown. They are being called to expand their understanding, to go beyond the confines of their old beliefs, and to embrace a new paradigm, one that acknowledges the divine, not as an abstract concept, but as a living, active force that shapes the world. The struggle to comprehend the magnitude of what is unfolding is not limited to intellectuals alone. Leaders, both political and spiritual, are also feeling the impact of the divine awakening. For centuries, they have governed with authority, relying on the structures of power and belief that have been passed down through generations. They have built systems of control and influence based on the established norms and traditions, using the old gods and myths to legitimize their power. But now, with the rise of the divine force, their authority is being called into question. The old systems of control are no longer sufficient to hold sway over a world that is waking up to a greater truth. Political leaders who once held the reins of power are now facing a crisis of legitimacy. They are struggling to maintain their control as the world shifts in response to the divine force that has emerged. The divine truth that is being revealed does not bend to the will of human rulers. It is a force that transcends earthly authority, and the leaders who once relied on the old gods and myths to maintain their power now find themselves powerless in the face of this new reality. Spiritual leaders, too, are grappling with the implications of the divine awakening. For centuries, they have led their followers based on teachings that have been rooted in the old myths and doctrines. But now, as the divine force rises, they are being forced to reconsider their role in guiding the spiritual lives of their communities. The divine force that has emerged is not confined to the walls of temples or the pages of ancient texts. It is a living, breathing presence that is available to all. And the spiritual leaders who once held the keys to the divine are now being asked to open the door to a new understanding of the divine one that is not bound by tradition, but free to flow through every individual. The old ways of thinking, governing, and leading are being challenged by the rise of the divine force, and those who are unwilling to adapt will find themselves left behind. The collapse of old beliefs is not just a spiritual event. It is a fundamental shift in the way humanity understands itself and its place in the universe. As the divine force rises, it forces humanity to confront the limitations of its past and to step into a new reality, one where the divine is not something distant and separate, but something that is present within every individual ready to be awakened. The erosion of old gods and myths is the beginning of a new era, an era where humanity is free to embrace its true divine nature. As the divine force continues to rise, it becomes clear that this awakening is not just an individual transformation. It is a universal shift, one that reverberates across the globe. From the deserts of Egypt, where the ancient land feels the stirrings of divinity beneath its sands, to the farthest corners of the earth, people everywhere are beginning to feel the divine energy that now pulses through the fabric of existence. It is a collective experience, one that transcends culture, class, and belief. The divine force is not bound by the distinctions that once separated humanity. It touches every living being, regardless of their background or understanding, and its presence is felt deeply by all. In the bustling cities, the quiet villages, the remote jungles, and the arid deserts, there is a shared sense that something extraordinary is unfolding. People who have never met, who come from different walks of life, are experiencing the same stirring in their souls, a recognition that the world as they know it is changing. This is not a singular experience. It is a collective one that binds humanity together in a way that has never been possible before. The divine force that has awakened is not something separate, something to be worshipped from afar. It is something deeply interconnected with the human experience. It is a reminder that humanity at its core is not separate from the divine, but a part of it. This realization, as it spreads across the globe, has the power to unite humanity in ways that were previously unimaginable. The divine energy is a bridge that connects all people, regardless of their differences, and calls them to recognize the shared truth that resides within each of them. As the divine force rises, it calls humanity to remember that they are all connected to something greater than themselves, something that transcends the physical world and binds them together in a collective experience of awakening. As this divine energy spreads, humanity begins to recognize the true nature of its existence. There is a collective realization that the divine presence is no longer a distant concept or an abstract idea. It is here now, in the midst of humanity, and every action, every breath is touched by the awakening. Whether through awe or fear, the divine authority is being acknowledged by all. There is no escaping the recognition that something far greater than the human mind can comprehend is at work in the world. The realization of divine authority does not come quietly. It comes with a force that cannot be ignored. Some may feel awe, a deep sense of reverence and wonder as they recognize the divinity that is now manifest in the world. Others may feel fear, the kind of fear that comes when the world they have known begins to fall away, and they are confronted with the realization that they are part of something much larger than themselves. This fear is not a weakness, but a response to the vastness of the divine presence. It is the fear of confronting something that transcends the boundaries of human understanding, the fear of stepping into a reality where the rules are no longer the same and where every action has the potential to shape the world in ways previously unimaginable. But whether it is awe or fear, the realization of divine authority is universal. No longer can humanity continue to cling to the old ways of thinking, the old systems of power and belief that have defined its existence for so long. The divine presence is not a theory, a myth, or a distant idea. It is real, and it is shaping the world. Every moment, every interaction is touched by the divine energy that now flows through the world. People are beginning to see that the divine is not something external to their lives, but something intrinsic to their very being. The awakening is not just a spiritual event. It is a fundamental shift in the way humanity understands its place in the universe. The divine force is not a force to be feared in the sense of being distant and cold, but a force that is deeply personal, deeply intimate, and deeply transformative. It is a presence that calls humanity to step into its true potential, to embrace its divine nature, and to recognize the power that resides within every individual. This realization is both humbling and empowering. It is humbling because it forces humanity to confront the truth that it is not in control of the universe, and that the divine is far greater than anything it has ever imagined. But it is also empowering because it reminds humanity that it is part of something much larger than itself. The divine presence is not here to overwhelm or dominate. It is here to awaken, to elevate, and to empower humanity to step into its true purpose. The realization of divine authority is the beginning of a new understanding, one that recognizes that humanity is not separate from the divine, but an integral part of the divine plan. Every action, every breath becomes infused with the awareness that the divine is present, and that humanity has a role to play in the unfolding of this grand cosmic awakening. As this recognition spreads, it is not just the individual that is transformed, it is the world itself. The divine presence is reshaping reality, shifting the very fabric of existence. People are beginning to see the world in a new light, recognizing that their thoughts, actions, and intentions are all part of a larger divine purpose. The awakening is not just about personal transformation. It is about collective transformation. As humanity awakens to the divine, the world begins to change. The divine force that has risen is not just a force of power. It is a force of creation, of love, and of purpose. It is a force that will guide humanity into a new era of understanding, one where the divine is no longer hidden, but fully realized in every aspect of life. The recognition of divine authority is the first step in this transformation. And as humanity embraces this truth, the world will be forever changed. Every action, every decision will be touched by the divine, and the reality that once seemed fixed and unchanging will begin to shift in response to the awakening that is sweeping across the globe. The divine presence is here, and humanity is being called to recognize its role in the unfolding of a new divine reality. As the chosen one steps into their divine power, the universe itself begins to respond as if it too has been waiting for this moment. The very fabric of existence trembles in acknowledgement, and the cosmos shifts to align with the new divine presence. The stars themselves seem to adjust their positions in the sky, as though rearranging themselves to honor this awakening. It is as if the heavens themselves have recognized the rise of a new force, and in response, they recalibrate, moving in harmony with the divine. Time, too, begins to bend. The constraints that once governed the flow of time feel less rigid, as though the very laws of nature are becoming more fluid in the presence of this new power. What was once a fixed and unchanging reality now feels malleable, as if time itself is adapting to accommodate the awakening of the chosen one. This is not just a shift in perception. It is a cosmic recalibration, a realignment of the universe to align with the divine force that has risen within the chosen one. This moment is so profound that it reverberates through the very structure of existence. The stars, time, and the universe are not passive. They are active participants in the divine awakening, responding to the call of the chosen one's emergence. This is the moment when the divine and the cosmic converge, and the universe begins to reorient itself to reflect the power and presence of the divine. With this cosmic recalibration comes the undeniable recognition that the signs and phenomena of the natural world, once thought to be random or explained by natural laws, now seem to be directed by divine intention. The winds, the tides, the movement of celestial bodies, everything begins to feel orchestrated by the divine force that has awakened within the chosen one. The natural world, which once seemed indifferent to human existence, now feels as though it is participating in the unfolding of this divine moment. The winds no longer blow aimlessly, but seem to carry the breath of the divine, whispering messages of truth and transformation. The tides, once governed by the predictable rhythms of the earth, now appear to move in response to a higher call, their ebb and flow, aligning with the divine energy that is now spreading across the world. The celestial bodies, those distant stars and planets, now feel intimately connected to the divine awakening. What once seemed like the silent movement of faraway spheres now feels like a cosmic dance, a performance in which the chosen one is at the center with every star, every planet, every comet, moving in perfect harmony with the divine energy. The universe is not just watching, it is actively participating in the awakening. The signs that were once seen as mere coincidence or chance now appear to be directed by divine will. Everything feels purposeful, as if the entire universe has been waiting for this moment to unfold. The natural phenomena that once seemed beyond human comprehension now take on new meaning. They are no longer random occurrences. They are part of the divine orchestration, each one a testament to the power of the awakening. This realization changes the way humanity sees the world. No longer can natural events be dismissed as chance or explained away by science alone. The awakening of the chosen one has revealed that the universe is not a cold, indifferent place. It is alive, it is responsive, and it is deeply connected to the divine. The signs and phenomena that humans have witnessed throughout history are now seen as markers, as clues left by the divine to guide humanity towards greater understanding. What was once mysterious and unexplained is now revealed to be a part of a greater plan, a divine plan that is unfolding in real time. As humanity witnesses the cosmic recalibration, it becomes clear that there is a higher order, a divine intelligence that governs not just the physical world, but the very fabric of reality itself. The awakening of the chosen one is the key that unlocks this understanding, revealing the interconnectedness of all things. Every gust of wind, every wave, every star that burns brightly in the night sky is a reflection of the divine force that now moves through the world. These natural phenomena are no longer to be seen as separate from human existence. They are part of the same divine reality, a reality that is now being made known to all. The universe is no longer a passive backdrop to human life. It is an active participant in the awakening, guiding, supporting, and aligning with the divine energy that is now at the forefront of the world's consciousness. As the chosen one's presence continues to unfold, it becomes clear that this divine force is not isolated to the individual. It is a force that is connected to all of creation, and as such, the entire universe responds to its emergence. The divine energy flows through everything, connecting all living beings, all elements, all forces, in a way that transcends human understanding. The winds that once seemed like random gusts now feel like messengers carrying the whispers of the divine across the earth. The tides that once followed a predictable pattern now seem to rise and fall in perfect harmony with the divine will. The stars that once shone in the distant heavens now feel like allies, guiding the chosen one on their path and illuminating the way for others to follow. The entire universe is now aligned with the divine awakening. And as it does, humanity begins to understand that it is not separate from this divine force. It is a part of it. This realization brings with it a deep sense of unity and connection. Humanity is no longer isolated in a world of random events and isolated occurrences. It is part of a larger, divine story, one that is unfolding in every moment, in every breath. The natural world, the cosmic forces, and the human experience are all intertwined. And as the chosen one rises, the universe responds in kind. The divine energy flows through all things, and in doing so, it creates a sense of harmony, purpose, and alignment that transcends the limitations of the past. The awakening of the chosen one is not just the emergence of a single individual. It is the emergence of a new reality, one in which the divine is fully present, fully awake, and fully engaged with the world. As the universe shifts and realigns, humanity is invited to step into this new reality, to embrace the divine presence that now flows through all things, and to recognize that the awakening is not just the chosen one's journey, it is the journey of all creation. As the chosen one steps fully into their divine potential, the transformation is profound, and the world around them feels it. This is not a shift that happens only within the soul. It radiates outward, affecting everything that is touched by the chosen one's presence. Every thought, every action carries weight, as though the very fabric of the universe aligns with their intentions. The chosen one is no longer simply an individual moving through the world. They have become a force, a living embodiment of divine power. It is as if the boundaries between the self and the universe have blurred, and the chosen one is now a channel through which divine energy flows freely. Every decision made, every choice acted upon reverberates throughout existence, causing ripples in the fabric of reality. There is no longer the need to struggle or fight for power. For the chosen, one has come to understand that true power lies not in force, but in alignment with the divine. The universe, once perceived as a complex web of random events, now responds to the will of the chosen one. The laws of nature, once seen as fixed and immutable, now bend in response to the divine presence that has awakened. Time, space, and matter all begin to cooperate with the chosen one's intentions. It is as if reality itself has become malleable, shaped by the divine will that now flows through the chosen one. The awareness of this power is both awe-inspiring and humbling. To realize that every thought, every action carries such weight is to understand the responsibility that comes with embodying divine potential. But with this realization comes a deep sense of empowerment, for the chosen one knows that they are not bound by the limitations of the past. They are the creators of their own reality, the masters of their own fate, and as they embrace this power, they step into a new realm of possibility. As the chosen one embraces their divine potential, their ability to heal, create, and manipulate reality becomes second nature. What once seemed like miracles, what once felt like the realm of fantasy, now becomes an everyday experience. Healing, creation, and transformation no longer require effort or struggle. They are inherent in the chosen one's being. To heal is to simply align with the divine energy flowing through them, to be a conduit for the restoration of balance. What was broken is now made whole with ease, as though the very act of healing is part of the chosen one's essence. Creation, too, becomes a natural extension of their being. No longer bound by the limitations of the material world, the chosen one can shape reality with a thought, bringing forth new possibilities from the unseen. What was once considered impossible is now within reach. The world around the Chosen One bends and reshapes according to their will as they tap into the creative energy that flows through all things. This is not about forcing the world to conform to the Chosen One's desires. It is about being in alignment with the divine flow and allowing that energy to naturally shape the world. The Chosen One is no longer the creator through effort and strain. They are the creator through alignment and flow. The reality that once seemed fixed and unchangeable is now a canvas, and the Chosen One holds the brush. They can paint new landscapes, weave new patterns, and bring forth new possibilities with ease. The power to manipulate reality is no longer a gift. It is a part of who the Chosen One is. The impossible becomes commonplace, and what was once seen as a miraculous act becomes as natural as breathing. This is the true power of creation, and the Chosen One has now stepped into it fully. As the divine presence continues to unfold, its impact on humanity is nothing short of transformative. The very fabric of society and culture begins to shift in response to this awakening. As the world grapples with the reality of the divine force that now permeates all existence. The old ways of living, the traditions and systems that have long defined human civilization, are no longer sufficient to guide humanity into the new reality. These old traditions, while deeply rooted in history, are now being reinterpreted in light of the divine presence. What was once considered sacred, though still important, is now seen through a new lens. A lens that acknowledges the divine, not as something distant, but as something intimately connected to every individual. The rituals that once served to honor gods and the unseen forces of the universe are now evolving, adapting to the new understanding that the divine is not separate from humanity, but an integral part of it. The practices of the past are not abandoned. Rather, they are transformed, infused with new meaning and purpose. The awakening of the divine within the Chosen One calls humanity to re-examine the old ways and to rediscover the truth that lies hidden within them. In this process, new rituals emerge, rituals that honor the divine presence, not as something external, but as something that resides within each individual. These new rituals are not bound by dogma or tradition. They are living practices rooted in the understanding that humanity's connection to the divine is immediate, personal, and powerful. Society begins to shift toward a more inclusive, connected understanding of spirituality, where every individual is seen as a reflection of the divine, and every action is an opportunity to align with that divinity. This global shift is not merely an external change. It is an internal transformation that touches the hearts and minds of people across the world. As the divine presence continues to reshape society, it also fosters the emergence of new beliefs, ones that go beyond the limitations of the old frameworks and enter into a new era of spiritual and cosmic understanding. The collective consciousness of humanity expands as people awaken to the truth that the divine is not confined to old religious systems, but is a living, breathing force that connects all of creation. The boundaries between the spiritual and the material, the divine and the human, begin to blur as humanity recognizes that divinity is not something to be worshipped from afar, but something that is present within them, waiting to be awakened. This new understanding of life power and divinity opens up vast new realms of possibility. Humanity no longer sees itself as separate from the divine, but as an essential part of it, with the power to shape reality and manifest change. The realization that the divine is within each person transforms the way people relate to one another, to the earth, and to the cosmos. The old beliefs that once limited human potential are now seen as stepping stones toward a deeper, more expansive understanding of the divine. The awakening calls humanity to look beyond the narrow confines of old spiritual systems and embrace a more universal, interconnected view of existence. In this new era, spirituality is no longer a set of rigid rules and dogmas. It is a fluid, evolving experience that allows every individual to connect with the divine in their own unique way. This shift in understanding is not just a spiritual awakening, it is a cosmic one. As humanity begins to recognize its place in the grand design of the universe, the divine force that has awakened is not an isolated event. It is the beginning of a new era where the cosmic and the spiritual are integrated into a unified understanding of existence. As the divine presence continues to rise, it invites humanity to step into a new paradigm, one where the limitations of the past are left behind and the boundless possibilities of the future are embraced. This new era is not just about individual awakening. It is about the collective transformation of humanity as all people come to understand that they are part of something far greater than themselves. The emergence of new beliefs marks the beginning of this transformation, and as humanity embraces this new understanding, the world will be forever changed. The awakening of the Chosen One marks not just a personal transformation, but the beginning of a new epoch in human history. This is the moment when humanity begins to witness the divine presence, fully embodied in the Chosen One, a presence that has always been a part of creation, but has now been made manifest in the world. The divine force that once seemed distant and unreachable is now a living, breathing reality. And it is through the Chosen One that this divine power is being revealed to the world. The awakening signifies the fulfillment of a long-awaited destiny, a destiny that has been woven into the very fabric of existence. It is the realization that the divine has always been present, waiting for the right moment to emerge, and that moment has now arrived. The Chosen One is the vessel through which this divine energy flows, and their emergence marks the beginning of a new chapter in the story of humanity. This new epoch is not just a time of individual awakening, but a time when the collective consciousness of humanity shifts toward a deeper understanding of the divine. As the Chosen One steps into their full power, they become the guiding force that leads humanity into a new era. One where the divine is not separate from the human experience, but fully integrated into it. This is the fulfillment of destiny, a moment in time that will be remembered as the turning point in human history, when the world finally recognized the divine presence that has always been within reach. As the world adapts to this new reality, the Chosen One will lead humanity into a new understanding of its potential and divine purpose. The transformation that is unfolding is not just about the awakening of one individual. It is about the awakening of humanity as a whole. The Chosen One's rise to power is a catalyst for a larger shift, a shift that will reshape the way humanity views itself, its relationship to the divine, and its place in the cosmos. The Chosen One's divine awakening is a reminder that humanity's potential is limitless, that every individual carries within them the same divine power that the Chosen One embodies. This is a moment of empowerment for all, as humanity realizes that it is not bound by the limitations of the past, but is free to step into its true divine nature. The future of humanity is now inextricably linked to the divine force that has been awakened. And as the world adapts to this new reality, humanity will begin to see itself not as separate from the divine, but as an integral part of it. The Chosen One's leadership is not just about guiding others, it is about showing humanity the way to its own divine potential. It is about teaching the world that the divine is not something that must be sought outside of oneself, but something that is already within, waiting to be awakened. The Chosen One's journey is a beacon for all to follow, a call for humanity to embrace its divine purpose and to step into the fullness of its potential. And yet, while this awakening marks a profound shift, it is just the beginning. The journey of the Chosen One and the journey of humanity is far from over. This is not a one-time event, but the beginning of a continuous evolution, a process of awakening that will unfold over time. The world has been forever changed, but the full extent of this transformation is still to come. The Chosen One stands at the center of this cosmic shift, but their role is not one of dominance or control. Instead, they are the guide, the teacher, the one who shows humanity the way. The true power of the divine lies in its ability to awaken within each person. And as the Chosen One leads by example, others will step into their own divine potential. This is a journey that involves everyone, a journey of self-discovery, empowerment, and unity. The world is now a different place, and the Chosen One is at the heart of this change, but it is not just their transformation, it is the transformation of all. As the divine presence continues to unfold, humanity will learn to embrace its true purpose, its true power, and its divine connection. The awakening has begun, and while the journey is just starting, its impact will echo through the ages. The world has been forever changed, and the Chosen One stands as a symbol of what is possible when humanity aligns with its true divine nature. The journey ahead is one of infinite possibility, and the Chosen One is leading the way.